Lila Jensen stood quietly outside the hospital room, her fingers tightening slightly around the patient file in her hands. The name on the cover read Nathan Cole. Once a powerhouse in the financial world, now reduced to a stack of medical records detailing a T10 spinal cord injury, paralysis from the waist down, and presumed infertility. But none of that deterred Lila. She'd seen impossible things unfold. Sometimes, miracles begin with those who no longer believe in them. She knocked gently. "Mr. Cole? I'm Dr. Lila Jensen. I'll be handling your rehabilitation starting today." The voice came from the window, sharp as ice. "Another doctor who thinks they're a miracle, huh?" Nathan didn't turn. He sat motionless in his wheelchair, broad shoulders tense, dark hair flecked with silver. "You've probably read the file. 6 specialists, 8 months, 0 results." Lila maintained a calm, gentle smile as she stepped inside. "I don't promise miracles, Mr. Cole. I don't believe in impossible. I believe in what hasn't been explored yet." He turned to face her then, amber eyes locking onto hers. Distrustful, guarded, but not completely hollow. "That's an interesting philosophy, but Hope and I parted ways a long time ago." "Then you're in luck," Lila replied, taking the seat across from him. "Because I don't need you to have hope. I just need your cooperation." A beat of silence. Then Nathan let out a soft, dry laugh, unexpected, almost foreign in the sterile heaviness of the room. "I like your honesty, Dr. Jensen." Lila didn't yet know what the road ahead would look like, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She was going to help this man walk again, no matter what it took. Nathan studied her quietly after her firm declaration. Finally, he gave a small nod. "You're direct. I respect that." Lila smiled, sitting across from him and opening her tablet. "So, let's start from the beginning. I've read your file, but it doesn't tell the whole story." Nathan leaned back, his eyes dimming. She didn't push. With patients like him, silence was part of the therapy. "It happened at Glenshire Peak," he began, voice low like drifting smoke. "Our anniversary. She wanted photos near the cliff. The ground gave way. I saw it first. I pushed her out of danger." Lila let him speak, offering only quiet presence. "And I fell. 30 feet. Hit the rocks hard. Everything vanished. Diagnosis: complete spinal cord injury at T10. His voice tightened. No sensation from the waist down. No control. No hope. He turned toward the window. Trees swayed gently in the distance. While I was still in the ICU, she hired a lawyer, filed for divorce, said I was emotionally manipulative. But the truth, he swallowed hard, was that I couldn't father children. Lila shifted slightly. The meds. Steroids, anticoagulants, painkillers, side effects. I became completely infertile. Nathan's chuckle turned bitter. She didn't wait to see if I'd recover. Didn't care if I lived. All she saw was a man who couldn't walk, couldn't make love, couldn't give her a family. The air turned heavy. I lost everything. My company, my home, my name, myself. And the worst part, his eyes finally settled on Lila. I don't even blame her. I wouldn't want to stay with the man I became either. Lila drew a quiet breath, then spoke softly. You may have lost everything, but you're still here. You still have yourself. I see that in your eyes. You haven't truly given up. You're just too tired to fight alone. For the first time, Nathan looked at her not with suspicion, but with the faintest crack in his armor. The first official session began with soft morning sunlight spilling into the physical therapy room. Lila had arrived early, setting up equipment and reviewing her treatment plan. When Nathan was wheeled in, she wasn't wearing her usual white coat. Instead, she wore fitted athletic gear, her hair pulled neatly into a high ponytail. "Good morning, Mr. Cole," she greeted him, her smile calm yet vibrant. Nathan glanced around, his gaze pausing at her, not used to seeing a doctor dressed like a fitness trainer. "Today, I'm both," Lila replied, unfazed. We're starting therapy with a combination of neural stimulation and mechanical movement. It'll be physically close." He raised an eyebrow. "Close? If that makes you uncomfortable, I can modify the approach." Nathan studied her for a moment, then shook his head. "No, it's not that. Just, it's been a long time since anyone touched me for any reason other than clinical procedure." A beat of silence. "Then let me be the first to do it with the purpose of healing." She helped him transfer onto the padded therapy table. When her hands moved to his waist, Nathan felt something, not quite sensation, but a strange awareness of his body. "Do you feel anything?" she asked, eyes fixed on his muscle response. "No pain, but something. Pressure maybe, like awareness? That's good. That's a start." Throughout the session, Lila alternated between deep tissue stimulation and attaching electrodes to key muscle points. As the light current pulsed through his body, Nathan inhaled sharply. "What is it?" she asked immediately. I feel alive." Their eyes locked, and something shifted. It wasn't just patient and physician anymore, it was something new, a flicker of light after months of numbness and darkness. That afternoon, Lila took Nathan to the hydrotherapy wing, a private pool tucked into a quiet corner of the rehab center. The space was soft, lit by skylight, and the warm water shimmered like a gentle embrace. Nathan hesitated at the pool's edge, eyes uneasy. "I haven't been in water since the accident," he said, his voice carrying the weight of memory. Lila knelt beside him, her hand resting on the wheelchair arm. "You're not going in alone. I'll be there with you." She stepped into the water first, then offered her hand. Slowly, Nathan took it, allowing her to guide him in. The water wrapped around him, lifting his body, relieving the constant pressure on his frame. His breath deepened. "Today," Lila said softly, "we try standing. The water will support your weight." Her arm slipped behind his back, one hand steadying his arm. With great care, Nathan lowered his feet to the pool floor. His body trembled as gravity reintroduced itself to limbs long disconnected. I can feel the floor," he whispered, stunned. "Not clearly, but it's there." Lila gave his hand a gentle squeeze. "That's the beginning of standing again." In the warm water and golden light, the space between them began to blur. Each touch, her hand on his waist, her fingers adjusting his stance, was charged with something unspoken. Their breathing synchronized with the rippling water. Nathan looked at her, his gaze softer than usual. "I dreamed of this." Lila glanced up. "Of standing?" He shook his head, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Not just standing. Standing with you." Lila froze for just a second, her heart skipping beneath the stillness of the pool. She didn't answer, but her eyes said enough. And in that shared stillness, they both knew they had crossed into a space where treatment met something deeper, and neither of them could pretend otherwise. 1 week after his first neurological breakthrough, Lila invited Nathan to the hospital rooftop late one evening. "We'll try a new balance exercise," she said. "The brain responds better in unfamiliar environments. Natural light, fresh air, it helps." Nathan was brought up in his wheelchair, but this time, he wasn't just an observer. She had prepared everything: safety bars, padded flooring, and an open space beneath the quiet night sky. "Ready?" Lila asked, offering her hand. He took it. Her hand was warm and steady. She stood in front of him, arms around his waist, steadying muscles still unsteady. Nathan gritted his teeth, closed his eyes, and summoned every ounce of strength. 1 beat, 2 beats, and then he stood. For the first time in over a year. Not in water, not in a dream. On the rooftop, under the moonlight, Nathan Graham stood on his own 2 feet. A broken breath escaped him, and tears ran down his cheeks. Lila said nothing. She just wrapped her arms around him. It wasn't clinical. It wasn't professional. It was human, whole. In that embrace, he lowered his head, and she didn't move away. Their kiss was like the breeze, light, but filled with the depth of all they had been through. It wasn't impulse. It wasn't pity. It was recognition. That night, they didn't return to the hospital ward. In the doctor's on-call apartment, with soft lamplight filtering through white curtains, they found each other, not as therapist and patient, not as broken and healer, but as two souls, two bodies, finally free to meet. No barriers, no boundaries, no rules to play, only Nathan and Lila, touching, feeling, healing in the most human way. It was Lila who brought Nathan back to his room. Her steps were slow, as though each one held back something she couldn't say. The hallway lights flickered softly as she wheeled him forward, her hand never leaving his shoulder. At the doorway, she paused, longer than necessary. Her fingers lingered at the back of his neck, memorizing the curve of his skin. Nathan turned to look at her, but before he could speak, she leaned in, pressing her forehead gently to his. "I love you, Nathan," she whispered, barely audible. Then she pulled back. Her smile trembled, and when she turned away, she didn't look back. The next morning, Nathan woke with a strange feeling, equal parts joy and nervous hope. He looked forward to their session. He wanted to see her, to say her name without caution. But the hour passed, and she didn't come. There was no familiar knock, no Lila. A nurse entered instead. "Dr. Leela is on personal leave," she said softly, avoiding his gaze. That afternoon, on the table beside his bed, Nathan found a small folded note. "I'm sorry for leaving without saying goodbye. After last night, I realized I can't continue treating you while carrying these feelings. I need time to think clearly. L." Nathan's hand clenched the paper. The pain didn't explode, it seeped in quietly, like a crack widening in his chest. Just then, the door opened. Lisa, his ex-wife, the woman he thought gone for good, stood in the doorway, her hair thin, her frame frail. "I don't have much time," she whispered. "Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. Nathan couldn't speak. "I'm not asking you to come back," Lisa said softly. "Just to forgive me." 1 month after leaving the hospital, Lila quietly flew to London. No goodbye, no message. She joined a private research center, continuing her work on neural stimulation, the same technology that had once given hope to patients, and connected her to Nathan. London rained often. The small apartment she rented near the lab stayed cold. She lived quietly, letting the work consume her. But soon her body began to change. Nausea, dizziness, unexplainable fatigue. One morning, staring at a positive pregnancy test, Leela felt her breath catch. She knew whose child it was, a result of that one night. But she also knew she wouldn't tell him, because days after she left, an anonymous letter arrived. Inside was a photo, Nathan holding Lisa's hand at the hospital bedside, his gaze soft, their fingers intertwined. No explanation, just a single line. They've gotten back together. Lila stared at the photo for hours. Her heart cracked, so she vanished completely. Across the ocean, Nathan drifted through each day in silence. Lila had disappeared as if she never existed. He had no idea that, amid the quiet, something was growing. A new life, carrying part of him, and every word they had left unsaid. 2 years had passed since Leela disappeared. Nathan, now able to walk on his own with the help of a cane, carried not just the physical strength he'd earned through relentless therapy, but also the quiet ache of something unresolved, something that never left him. He was no longer the hopeless man staring out a hospital window, but in the space she left behind, no recovery ever felt complete. There were no messages, no letters. It was as if she had vanished from the world. Until one evening, his eyes caught a familiar name in a medical journal. Dr. Leela Dawson, now leading a neuro-recovery research team at a renowned institute in London. So he went. No warning, no expectations, just a faint hope that he might see her, just once. The hospital garden was peaceful under the soft afternoon light. And there she was, near a row of lavender bushes, her posture, her hair unmistakable, bending to tie a child's shoelace. Then 2 more children ran toward her, squealing with laughter. 3 children, all with dark brown hair, hazel eyes, and that unmistakable cleft chin. Nathan froze in place. His cane tilted slightly. His heart pounded with disbelief, confusion, wonder. Leela looked up, and the world stopped. Her breath hitched as her gaze locked onto his. The file in her hand slipped slightly, and her knees trembled. Not from fear, but from the sudden wave of everything she had buried. For a moment, the children's voices faded, the hospital dissolved, and it was just them. Her eyes welled up, jaw tightening as if holding back years of words. She didn't move. She couldn't. All she could do was look and feel. Then, with a voice hoarse, trembling, and full of unshed questions, he asked, "Lila, why didn't you tell me?" She swallowed hard, her voice barely above a whisper. "Because I thought you were building a life with her. And I didn't want to be the woman who begged to be chosen." He stepped closer, voice raw. "You were never second choice. You were the only choice I ever wanted." Nathan said nothing more. He simply stepped forward, dropped to his knees in the garden, and wrapped his arms around the 3 children. Tears streamed down his face, soaking into their soft hair. 3 tiny lives he hadn't known, yet somehow had loved all along. Lila stood frozen, one trembling hand covering her mouth. Years of composure cracked in that moment, letting her heart finally soften. Nathan looked up. His eyes weren't filled with blame, only the quiet pain of a man who had nearly lost everything to a cruel misunderstanding. "I never got back together with Lisa," he said gently. "She was dying. All she wanted was to apologize. That photo you received, it was sent by someone else. Lisa told me everything before she passed. She wasn't forced to leave me. She left because she knew she couldn't have children, and she didn't want me to find out the truth." Lila's breath caught. "You mean you're not—" "It wasn't me," Nathan nodded. "It was her. But instead of facing it, she made up the story, left in a way that let her walk away without guilt. And me, I was left with nothing. Until I met you." In that quiet garden, 2 broken people stood face to face. They needed no more words. Their hands found each other. This time, to hold on. For real, for always. 2 months later, in that same garden, a small wedding was held. No extravagant dress, no grand crowd, just close friends, quiet laughter, and 3 tiny ring bearers in toddler suits taking turns dropping the rings, making everyone laugh. Leela wore a simple white dress, flowers in her hair, holding hands with the man who had once fallen, who had once been shattered, but now stood again, not just on his legs, but on the strength of love. As golden sunlight bathed the garden, Nathan turned to her, voice steady, eyes full. "I didn't just learn how to stand again, I learned how to love again, and it's all because of you."